Sunday, Guam, and welcome to KOAM News Extra. I'm Sonia Artero. It was 62 years ago when American Marines invaded Japanese soil, for the first time in World War II in an ensuing combat known as the Battle of Iwo Jima. In total, 6,821 Americans were killed, making it the deadliest battle in Marine Corps history. On February 19th of 1945, news photographer Joe Rosenthal caught the American flag raising in an inspiring Pulitzer Prize-winning photograph. When the picture was later released, sculptor Felix de Weldon, who was on duty with the U.S. Navy at the time, was so moved by the scene that he constructed a scale model of it first and then later a life-size model. Once the statue was completed in plaster, it was carefully disassembled for casting in bronze, a casting process that was required of work of many experienced artisans. Mr. Joe Olvey is one such artisan that is intimately familiar with the process, as he was commissioned in the summer of 1984 to preserve the original Iwo Jima monument, now located at the Marine Military Academy in Harlingen, Texas, a monument that was later used for the casting of the monument most people have seen near the Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, D.C. So that our viewers can get a feel for what the restoration process was like back then, I thought we'd first show you a picture of Joe working on the Iwo Jima monument with other pictures to follow. So we'll start with that picture first. Thank you, Joe, for coming on tonight. Pleasure having you on the show for the first time, and pleasure having you share your story with us. This is really a fascinating story, and I really appreciate you coming in to tell us your story.
Aloha.
So tell us about the process of restoring such a historical monument.
Well, it's a big process because it was out of plaster, and there was a lot of concerns that the deterioration of the plaster and the weather would be pretty relevant on that, and we had to encapsulate it with something that would preserve it. And then the artist was very concerned about preserving the detail, and it was extremely painstaking to keep that detail in focus.
I was going to say, you know, I was looking at the pictures that you actually showed me earlier, and then just reading back on the history and the making of the actual statue. What were some of the concerns going through your mind as you working on this actual monument? You know, you have to deal with the artist, you have to deal with certain details. Tell us some of the concerns that you had to deal with.
Well, we had to deal with it in a weather situation, that we had to encapsulate it in some materials that weren't conducive to the elements that we had. And that the plaster was brought down and deteriorated in a way that we had to actually restore a lot of it, not just encapsulate it and preserve it for a weather coating. And that was of great concern to the artist, because he was very dedicated to that and needed to keep that feeling that he had in that statue to keep continuous in prosperity for the other people to see.
So the integrity was really something that you had to pay close attention to, because I'm sure, like any artist, no, this is the way I want it. So.
Yeah, it's the way you want. Once he was comfortable with the fact that he was assured that we could provide that, and when I say we, I had someone help me, that it became a labor of love, more or less, because that was quite a historic piece. And one thing that after he became comfortable, his major concern was actually getting the color correct, because he wanted it to look like the bronze at the end, and it was very important to him.
Now, after the parts had been cast, cleaned, and finished, they were reassembled into approximately a dozen pieces, I was told. Tell us about that actual process, because you were saying size-wise there were so many pieces to contend with, and that's actually part of the difficulty in putting this whole thing together.
Yeah, there was approximately 4 or 5 18-wheel trucks that brought that down from his studio. And it was quite an undertaking to get those pieces back, and it becomes a jigsaw puzzle for the artist. And he was under the direction of a couple of his people that would do that. And it was quite important to him to get it correct, and it was to be a replica of the one in Arlington. So it couldn't deviate from what we had. So it was quite a task to get it together.
What was he like as an artist to work with? I mean, what was his behavior like, his personality?
He was a great guy, and he was very friendly and cordial. We were a little kind of nervous when we first went in there. And I had one of my sons help me with it, and it was kind of different that when we went in there, but he was so open, and he was inspiring, actually, and let us to know that, you know, we could do the job, and he was comfortable with us. So that inspiration took us through that monument, and it took us about 3 months to do it.
I was going to say, from start to finish, how long did it take? So 3.5 months?
Yes.
How many days of the week and how many hours at a time are you working on such a monument?
Well, when we first got started, I was a little concerned that we didn't want to wear ourselves out with it, but it became such a labor of love that we worked 7 days a week. And it was just really nice. We had the Marine Corps boys were there to help us in anything that we needed, and they were bringing us all the food and the drinks, and they were just asking us questions about it. And then the artist would come out, and he was still very comfortable with us, and actually he let us run with it.